Welcome everybody to another video of Vaping with Empire. I am Chapman.
I am Chapman.
He never gets it right. What are we doing? What are we doing today?
We are talking about RDAs.
Dripping 101. Basically, we're gonna go over a rebuildable dripping atomizer, or RDA. We had a good producer that would come up like that.
We don't.
And basically, we're gonna show you the ins and outs of one, the advantages of having one, why we use them all the time and like them, some safety precautions, and at the end of it, we're gonna build one and vape it. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, that's what they told us to do. So,
what are you vaping on?
I'm vaping on a Copper Able, Battle Deck, Captain's 2-Cap,
Sure.
and Silent Stalker from the Immolation Competition Wire Professional Cloud Serum.
That looks delicious. What's the flavor profile on that?
It is a bubble tape, like original bubble gum. It's delicious. I love this stuff.
I'm vaping on the old reliable Ruby 25 that someone got me for my birthday. I'm not gonna say who. I got a 22 nichrome 4-wrap 3mm inner diameter, which you'll see a little bit later. And I'm vaping on Caramel Crisp because it's delicious.
That stuff's good too. I like that stuff a lot.
It tastes like caramel Rice Krispies. So yeah, but anyway, back to dripping. So basically what Hunter's gonna do now is go into depth about like what an RDA is, the parts that make up an RDA, maybe some safety things. Ohm's law is a good one. And yeah, and then we'll build a coil. So see you in a minute.
See you there. What is an RDA? An RDA stands for a rebuildable dripping atomizer. So rebuildable, you build your own coils, which determines the type of vape that you actually have. Dripping, which is going to be you just dripping your own juice onto the coils. And then atomizer, it atomizes the juice. It's what vaporizes it and actually produces the vapor production. So to break down an RDA for you, we have a simple Archon RDA right here, 3-post. So you can see the center post and the 2 outer posts right here. The center post is going to be the positive post, which I actually have one taken apart in copper right here. That's going to be what conducts the electricity from the battery up to the coils. And it's connected through the pin at the very bottom, the copper piece down there. And the 2 outer posts are going to be the negative, the ground to it. And so basically when it makes that, it's going to make a controlled circuit, which is going to actually produce the vapor as it heats the coil. To keep it safe, you have what we call an insulator right here. Insulator makes sure that it's not grounding out anywhere that it shouldn't be, mainly on the inside of the threads, on the inside there. And then you also have the juice well right here. The juice well is basically what the cotton's going to go down into. It holds the juice, it brings it up to the wicks, and it actually allows you to keep it so your RDA doesn't go dry. You have this guy right here, which it has the adjustable airflow right across the side there. And you can turn it to however you like. If you want a little bit of a tighter draw with a cooler build, or you want a little bit more open draw with a hotter build, that's really going to determine where you're going to have it. The reason why I really enjoy using an RDA is because I can determine the type of vape that I get. I can either have more cloud production, I can have better flavor, I can build whatever I need to based off of what I'm feeling like that day. You can go with more surface area for a more tasty build, or you can go with a little bit less surface area with a higher gauge wire for a little bit of a hotter build. So that's basically an RDA broken down for you. Now we're going to go up to Chappie and we're going to actually show you how to build a coil for yourself.
So guys, before we start building our coil, we need some stuff, we need some tools, we need some knowledge. We need to know what Ohm's law is. Ohm's law is essentially voltage divided by resistance, which gives us our amperage of our heating element, and it's going to tell us how much power we draw from our battery or our mod, our atomizer, our vaporizer. Today we're going to use some 20 gauge nichrome, which is about 30% more conductive than Kanthal, so we're going to need a couple more wraps. I like to use a Stanley screwdriver set to wrap my coils on, but you can use basically anything that has the measurement of millimeters for a good inner diameter. You're going to need, you don't have to use needle nose pliers. I would always recommend ceramic tweezers because they're non-conductive to help pinch your coil and shape it so it heats from the inside out. Some scissors so you can cut your cotton when it goes through, cotton obviously, some juice to put on it afterwards, and either a mod or an ohm reader or a regulated device that has an ohm reader on it to see where your coil's at after you build it. Today we're going to use the 521 tab because I can literally build it, check its resistance, and then temp it, fire it, and even vape it if I want to. So let's get into wrapping a coil.
Audio good.
After the cut, this is the second take of Chapman trying to wrap a coil. Snap, snap, snap. So now that I know my inner diameter is going to be 3 mm, I'm going to use this screwdriver to wrap my coil around. I'm going to use the wire here, and I like to pinch it between my thumb and whatever I'm wrapping around, just like this. Now, what I'm going to do is I know I want to hit a resistance close to 0.1. Usually with this is around 6 wraps. For this one, we're just going to do 7 to be safe, okay? So what I like to do is once I have my wire firmly in my thumb and what I'm using to wrap it around, I'm going to start my initial wrap. Now, this wrap doesn't have to be pretty because what I'm going to do is pull this off when I'm finished. So this is the first wrap, which is nice and straight, okay? My second wrap, my third wrap, my fourth wrap, let's see here, fifth, sixth, seventh, now I'm going to do 8. So you notice here that I have kind of a gap right here, which is not a big deal because what we're going to do now is I'm going to take my needle nose pliers and I'm going to pull these wraps off, and I'm actually going to cut the excess wire off so I don't have a bunch of it flailing around, just like that. Move that out of the way here. And I'm going to pull these wraps off just like this. Nice and slow. Don't take your time. And just pull these off. And you'll notice when I'm done, I'll have a really nice straight and even coil. Boom. Now I'm going to cut my leads. I like to cut them uneven because when you stick them in the post, if they're the equal size, it'll be a little bit difficult, and you'll see in a second. Just one a little bit shorter than the other. Just kind of like that. Okay? So now I'm going to grab my RDA, just like this here. All right? And I'm going to stick one end into the positive side and the other one into the negative post. Let's see here if I can see, just like this. Now, once I have this firmly pressed against the post, because I want to get them basically as close as I can, especially with this bigger gauge of wire, I'm going to secure the wires by tightening my screws, just like this. And there's my negative. Now, before I tighten my positive, I kind of want to make this coil center. So I'm just going to give it a good push, just like that. And because it's thicker wire, it's a little bit more difficult. And now I'm going to tighten my positive, just like that as well. Now, I'm going to give it one final little squeeze here. And when I remove my screwdriver, you should see that the coil is basically in the center of the RDA. Awesome, right? You want to make sure that none of your wires are touching the other posts because you could cause a short circuit that way. And these look pretty darn good. Now I'm going to cut the excess off with my flush cuts. And with 20 gauge, you want to be careful because they tend to fly a little bit, but these ones aren't that bad. So now that we have our coil wrapped on the RDA, I'm going to turn this on and read its resistance. We're at 0.14, which is acceptable widely by any regulated device usually out there. So now that we know our resistance, we're going to temp these coils. Now what we're doing here is making sure that this coil heats from the inside out evenly and that there's no hot spots in here, which will give you a really bad flavor or evaporate your juice a little too quickly. So you see that right here. So now I'm going to give it a pulse. Let's see what it looks like without touching it. You see here it's starting to evaporate all the finger juice I had on it, and the outer two are kind of heating up before the inside ones. So what I'm going to do is give these a slight squeeze. Right here, a little squeeze like that. Fire them one more time. You can already tell that's helped out a lot bit. Now here's a little trick I like to do. Once I get them a little hot, I'm going to rake these coils. And what I'm doing is just putting microscopic separations between these wraps, allowing the coil to not weld itself together. And I bet, with a little bit of luck, oh yeah, that looks like it's heating pretty nicely. Beautiful, inside out, no hot spots. And a good rule of thumb is even after you do this and it's heating from the inside out, you always want to retighten your leads. You know, a little turn there, a little extra turn. Oh yeah, it's a lot of turn right there. And now, beautiful, super duper happy. So what's our next step here? A lot of people like to quench their coils to keep them more rigid in place. We don't have to do that here. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to because I ain't got no water right handy. But I do have some cotton. I'm using cotton bacon today. I like it because a lot of the fibers are going in the same direction, which allows the juice to travel through it a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is just kind of twist one end off here, stick it down through, and be careful because your coil is probably going to be still hot if you didn't quench it. Just like that. And I'll give it a good blow. That'll be a joke in the comments. And I'm going to pull my cotton through just like that. Now the idea here is to make your cotton even density throughout the coil on the outside of it and the inside of it. If you have your cotton too tight on the inside, all that loose cotton on the outside is going to get juice into it. But when it goes to wick into the coil where it's very tight, you're going to find that it may be dry on the inside. It's not going to taste very good. So now that my cotton's through, I'm going to take my scissors. And I like to cut these evenly with the deck because the juice well is made for juice, not for cotton. One of the biggest things I'll see with newer guys that are building is they have a lot of cotton in their juice well because they think that all that cotton's going to help soak up the juice. But really what it's doing is taking up the space where juice needs to go. Now I'm going to grab a smaller screwdriver here. Let's see. We'll grab this one real quick. And I'm going to do what I prefer is like a little tuck and roll. So I'm going to go underneath here. I'm going to tuck, and I'm just going to roll it into the RDA, just like that. And then I'm just going to push it back out, making sure that I leave enough area exposed of the coil so that when I draw through it, it gets cold, or cooler, I should say. So a little tuck and a little roll in, just like that. And then I'm going to, again, press this back out to make sure that I have enough airflow around my coil to keep it cool. Just like that, nice and simple. Then you take some juice, and you get it all nice and drenched. Don't be afraid to overjuice it. I promise you right now, you can always evaporate juice, but you cannot unburn cotton. I've done that a lot. Now, here's another cool thing. Heat draws in juice, right? So when I fire this, you'll watch it sink. Isn't that neat? I'll do it again so you can see. It sinks itself right in. And then once your cottons are nice and wet, you can fire the device. And vapors, just like that. And the cool thing about the 521 tab is I can take the cap to my RDA, which you always want your airflow facing the coil to cool it, just like that. And I can literally vape it. That's about it. I always suggest building above 0.1 ohms because that's basically the cutoff for most regulated devices. And again, if you've seen our previous videos on battery safety, you really don't want to push your batteries past their max amperage, or a device similar to, like, say, a regulated device. You don't want to go too low because they won't let you fire it. So if you're not sure, consult a professional, check out some more videos from us. And I mean, that's basically it. And this is just a rough idea. We're going to go back up top and we'll talk about some really good builders and where you can find some inspiration. So now you've seen Dripping 101. If you're unsure about what you're doing when you're building your coil, make sure you check out our previous videos on battery safety. Consult a professional. In fact, what you should do is just come into Empire Vape Shop, see me or him, and we can give you the guidance that you need. What is your favorite build?
My favorite build is a 5-wrap 20 gauge immolation wire on a 3mm bit. It ohms out to a 0.05 in a dual coil setup. I use it on a single tube mech mod. Usually you're using a VC4 battery, 2100 milliamp hours. I really enjoy that build. It gives me good flavor, good vapor production throughout the day. What do you use?
I like a 22 gauge Mad Rabbit. I use a dual coil setup. It's usually a 4-wrap parallel. It's a 3mm inner diameter. It ohms out pretty low, 0.04, 0.05, but I use it on my single tube mech, which is my Ruby 25, which someone got me for my birthday. And I use usually a 30 amp drain battery, like an LG HB6 or HB2. And it's usually when I'm practicing for a comp, which is every day, and check it. It's pretty rowdy.
So enough about him. What do you guys vape on?
True.
What's your favorite build? Who's your favorite builder on YouTube? Let us know because we would really like to check out some other things.
Yeah,
We're
put it in the
always
comments
looking.
below.
Yeah, certainly. We're usually pretty good. And if you have any questions, like we said, either come and visit us, throw it in the comments, any
Please.
questions that you have. But other than that, you can always check us out on Empire Vape Shop, Facebook. Empire Vape Shop, Twitter. Empire Vape Shop, Instagram. Hit us up on Snapchat.
Empire Chappy.
Empire Hunter.
And remember, in less than 1,000 days, your right to vape is going to be taken away by the FDA unless you do something about it. So go to CASA.org, become a member, do a call to action, because now more than ever, we need you to keep it cloudy.
Guys.
Cheers, guys.